Ladies and gentlemen, to talk about this story it's a little bit difficult, but there's a little boy who I guess sometimes in the midst of tragedy, you can find triumph. And that's probably the best way I can say it. In the midst of tragedy, you can find triumph. And this is the story of a little boy who was abused at the hands of his caretakers. And I want to tell you guys this story, okay? There's a little boy. There's a little boy who is now blind because he suffered abuse at the hands of his caretakers. The I-Team brought the story in February, and we're now hearing from the boy himself. So we're actually going to play a video of this boy, and we'll be able to hear from him, which I think is actually really, really cool, okay? Life for Markus Gray, who was the little boy in this story, the 9-year-old boy, has been very different after he was rendered blind after a beating with a belt last November. I want to know if there is still anybody out there, any black folk, anybody out there who still believes that spanking children is the correct thing to do. Because I don't. I think people need to stop being physical with kids. If you can't reason with a kid on a mental, spiritual, and emotional level, then in my opinion, I don't think people who have to beat up kids are suitable parents. Okay? It's my personal opinion, but I think that we could do so much better. This little boy was beaten so bad with a belt that it blinded him. He can never ever see ever again. This little boy questioned, and again, his name is Markus Gray. Let me see if I can get you guys a picture of this little boy. Let me get you a better picture of this little boy, because he has a bright smile. This little boy right here, this is Markus Gray, 9 years old. He asked the question, what did I do wrong? His paternal grandmother, Deborah Evans, is the one who now cares for him, which is her right there. To me, there is nothing that you could have done to deserve this, for this to happen to you. Nothing is what she said, and I agree. Metro Police say that, let me see if I can get those individuals' faces up on my screen. Give me a moment. These two young men right here, these two young men are the ones who have been arrested and been charged with this occurring to this boy, okay? Matter of fact, is that two men or is that a man and a woman? I know the person on the left there, that's a man, I think. The person on the right, I'm not sure. Looks like he got a little chin hair under the bottom there. I guess that's a woman. We're going to call that a woman, okay? For all intents and purposes. That man and that woman, the man's name is Akoya Hudgens, and he was the one who hit Markus with the belt to discipline him, so to say. He is the live-in boyfriend of the mother. And the mother apparently is the one on the right-hand side, and her name is Jerashon Jackson. Jerashon Jackson. I'm sorry, I don't like the name. I don't. It's a stupid name. But whatever. Even after they knew that this boy was hurt, the mother didn't take him to the hospital until 6 days later. Can somebody type that in the chat, please? They didn't take him to the hospital until six days later. Hudgens and Jackson were eventually arrested. Now, Akoya Hudgens, the dude, the boyfriend, apologized during his interview with the I-Team from jail. He said, as I was going to swing the belt, the kid, turned around like this. He turned his head, and I accidentally hit him in the face, according to his words. And that's him right there with his funny-looking self. That dude looks like, I don't know. He looks kind of alien-like to me, if you ask me. A funny-looking dude. Anyway, a doctor explained in front of the grand jury For injuries like Marcus, his eyesight may have been saved if he had received medical treatment sooner. They could have saved this boy's sight if they would have gotten him medical treatment sooner. Please bookmark that in your minds, please. The I-Team questioned why Hudgens didn't get him help, which he replied, I told her to get it checked out to see how his eyes were doing, but I'm not the parent, so I can't go and take him and get him checked out. What? Did y'all hear that? I'm going to read that again. His response to the news people asking him, since he was the one that beat the boy up, why didn't he go get the kid help? He said, I told the mom, her, right there looking like a hot bag of sausage with that red dress on. He told the mom that she needs to go get his eyes checked out. And he said, I'm not the parent, so I can't go get him checked out. But here's the thing. He want to play like a parent, but don't want to actually be a parent. And this is who you had your kid, your son around, ma'am? He want to be around you and play house like he was Dog Pound on the dog food album. He want to play house, but didn't actually want to be a dad. Isn't that something? And these are who y'all are choosing to be around y'all kids? Man. He said, I'm not the parent. But apparently, you felt like you were parent enough to take a belt to this kid for whatever reason. Your ass felt like whooping him. You felt like it was necessary for you to go spank this kid, trying to be like his daddy. But now when it comes to taking responsibility for your actions, now you don't want to be daddy? Are y'all hearing me? Are y'all hearing how punkish and how big of an excuse this dude is trying to make? Absolutely ridiculous. But let's move on. He also confirmed to us that he was the one who hit Marcus with the belt. Yes, ma'am, I hit him with the belt, he said, one time. Now, how many of y'all that are listening to the sound of my voice believe that he only hit this kid one time with a belt? Matter of fact, for those who have grown up in the black community, how many of you guys have ever been hit with a belt only one time? How many of you guys ever had your mom, your dad, your grandparent, or whoever the hell spanked you, whooped you with a belt? How many of y'all only got hit with the belt one time? What black household only pulls out a belt, goes through all the trouble to find a belt, find a thick belt, get you to bend over in some shape, form, or fashion, and hit you with that thing one time? I've never heard of the case. And matter of fact, how can this damn fool be that bad of a belt spanker that you spank the boy's eyeballs? This idiot. How do you spank a kid's eyeballs? Let me ask you guys this question. Anybody who has ever been spanked, on average, you guys can post the number in the chat. Just simply post the number. When you got a spanking, on average, how many licks or how many swats would you get when you got spanked? When your parent or your caretaker spanked you, how many times during a spanking session would you get hit with a belt? Because back in my day, when I used to be a little bit of a, what do they call it? A rebellious kid, so to say. I'd say on an average, I may have gotten hit maybe 20 times, 25 times in a normal spanking session, enough to get your ass stinging and to the point to where it hurt to where you can't sit down and you're crying for minutes and minutes and minutes after, maybe even hours after. Oh, Lord. Somebody in the chat says 60. Jesus Christ. They gave you the slave treatment. My goodness. On average, how many licks would y'all get? Just post your number in the chat. Whether it's 1 or 2 or 3 licks, or whether it's more. But I want y'all to notice that hardly nobody will ever say 1 time. Let's move on. The little boy is adapting to his new normal. He said that last time he could see shadows, but now he can't even see shadows anymore. Evan says Marcus is learning Braille now, which you guys can see from that picture. And he's doing pretty well in school. And y'all can see, look at that smile on that boy. The fact that he went through that much and he can still smile, to me, that's what I'm talking about, a testament of triumph right there. Let me back that picture up because it's so important. In the midst of this boy being beat so bad that he can no longer see. So he knows the value of sight, and he knows that he can never ever see again. The fact that this little boy still has that smile, I think that ought to warm your heart up a little bit. So you can look at this kind of like a bittersweet story. That is an indomitable spirit right there. That is a determined young man. And matter of fact, I'm going to tell y'all something else here in just a little bit about him. He also is a fan of the arts. And he said that he loves things like ballet, gymnastics, cheerleading, acrobats, dancing, and lots of stuff. He's a very unique kid, Evan said. Marcus questioned what that meant, and she said that unique means that you do some awesome stuff sometimes, and he wants to be this, what can I say? He wants to be a star. Let me tell you guys, because I don't know if they're going to tell you in the news video, another thing that this boy said that I thought was just absolutely just from God. This boy said that he was glad his siblings weren't there to have to experience what he experienced. He was glad that his sibling was not there, so they didn't have to experience what he experienced. Yes, in both eyes, he cannot see at all. He's hoping that he can get a surgery at some point that can maybe help him see again. Now, Hudgens pleaded guilty to the child abuse, and Hudgens is the, I think that's the mom, if I'm not mistaken. Let me scroll back. Let me see. No, Hudgens is the boyfriend. So the boyfriend, the man, pleaded guilty to child abuse, and he was sentenced 4 to 10 years in prison. Jackson is currently awaiting trial. Evans says that she and Marcus are taking it one day at a time. He should never have to experience none of this, she lamented. Marcus's grandmother says that his teacher told her he is doing well in school and he could even be in a gifted program. Let me give you guys the fair usage. We're going to talk about all of that stuff here in just a moment. Let's get it. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. All right, here we go. Let's listen to these news videos.
Fly me to the moon, let me play amongst the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars.
Now at 11. A child beaten so badly, police say he suffered major damage to his eyes. The boy's mother and her then boyfriend facing numerous charges.
The I-Team's Vanessa Murphy has an exclusive interview with one of the defendants. Now, we need to warn you, the images in this report are of a sensitive nature.
An 8-year-old boy, bruises on his body, his eyes red. Doctors and detectives say a beating with a buckle to the face left him blind. Metro Police say this is the man who did it.
I want him to know that I'm very sorry.
29-year-old Akoya Hudgens agreed to an interview with us. He is in jail awaiting trial.
As I was going to swing the belt, the kid turned around like this, and I accidentally hit him in the face.
He claims he was trying to discipline the boy.
I didn't have any intention of hurting this child.
Hudgens and the child's mother are pleading not guilty to child abuse charges. Prosecutors allege 31-year-old Jerishon Jackson let the abuse happen. Hudgens was her live-in boyfriend at this home near Sahara and Lamb. She is currently on house arrest.
Jerishon?
But the I-Team could not reach her for this report.
Do you understand the proceedings that are happening today?
Metro Police say after she found her son crying, holding his face, and having trouble seeing, she failed to get him help.
They were doing their own home testing rather than seeking medical care.
Home testing? Like what?
The mom would make faces, see if the child could mimic, ask if she knew the colors on the curtains.
6 days later, according to police, Jackson took her son to Sunrise Hospital. And the child said he was scared to go home and glad his younger brother was in daycare and not at home. Hudgens and Jackson were arrested and both children were removed from the home.
He's permanently blind. He had been transferred to Stanford for some testing. He had surgery there. He stayed there for some time, and he was released to relatives in California and should be receiving all kinds of therapeutic services to adjust to his new life.
A doctor explained in front of the grand jury for injuries like the child's, the condition can sometimes be reversed or improved with medical care. But too much time had passed before the boy was taken to the hospital.
Why didn't you get him help?
I told her to get it checked out, to see how his eyes are doing. But I'm not the parent, so I can't go and take him and get him checked out.
You're not the parent, but you were hitting him with a belt, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And I want y'all to notice something, and I don't want to take too much credit away from this woman, but what I do want to say is that I believe that our presence as the AFC is starting to mean something in society, and more people are starting to call people out who hurt children, speak their mind and call it out. And this woman said, well, you called yourself a parent, you put yourself in a parent's position, so why didn't you, as a parent, responsible parent, take the kid to the hospital since you were the one that caused this? I want y'all to hear this woman say that again, because I love the fact that she questioned him. Love it. Listen at this again.
Before the boy was taken to the hospital.
Why didn't you get him help?
I told her to get it checked out, to see how his eyes are doing. But I'm not the parent, so I can't go and take him and get him checked out.
You're not the parent, but you were hitting him with a belt, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. I hit him with the belt one time, yes, ma'am.
But prosecutors allege the incident which left the boy blind was one of several beatings he and his brother suffered at the hands of Hudgens.
They want to paint me to be something that I'm not, and I'm very remorseful, and that this was not purposely done, and it was an accident.
I agree. Y'all said he sounds stupid. He really does. And I think he's just playing stupid because he know what he did.
What he calls an accident led to lifelong consequences for a little boy. Vanessa Murphy, 8 News Now.
Okoye is expected back in court on Wednesday, and Jackson is due back in court in April. According to state law, child abuse is physical or mental injury of a non-accidental nature, and excessive corporal punishment may constitute abuse or neglect.
I need to call this out real quick because I love this when our people come in swinging. That's why we're the AFC, and I love all of you guys. Let me say real quick what Francis said. Francis said for like $10, background checks can be done from your phone. There is no excuse. And I definitely love that last part. No excuse. We have to stop making excuses for people who continue to put their children in danger. Even Miss June Bennett posts the National Child Abuse Hotline. If you see something, say something. That is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, in multiple languages. So even if you don't speak English, you can still call the number and get these kids some help. Because I'd rather you report it and be wrong and nothing happened, rather than something happened and nobody said anything. Let's keep going.
And a child is now blind because of abuse he suffered. It is a story the I-Team brought you in February. This evening, we hear from the boy himself. Our I-Team's Vanessa Murphy has a story you'll only see right here on 8 News Now.
Life for Markus Gray is different since this photo was taken. The 9-year-old boy is now blind after a beating with a belt last November.
What did I do wrong?
To me, there's nothing that you could have ever done to deserve for this to happen to you. Nothing.
His paternal grandmother, Deborah Evans, cares for him. Metro Police say Okoye Hudgens hit Markus with a belt to discipline him. He was the live-in boyfriend of Marcus's mother, Jerishon Jackson. Even after they knew Markus was hurt, Jackson didn't take him to the hospital until 6 days later. Hudgens and Jackson were eventually arrested. Hudgens apologized during this interview with the I-Team from jail in February.
As I was going to swing the belt, the kid turned around like this, and I accidentally hit him in the face.
A doctor explained in front of the grand jury for injuries like Marcus's, his eyesight may have been saved if he had received medical treatment sooner.
Why didn't you get him help?
I told her to get it checked out, to see how his eyes are doing. But I'm not the parent, so I can't go and take him and get him checked out.
You're not the parent, but you were hitting him with a belt, right?
Yes, ma'am. I hit him with the belt one time, yes, ma'am.
Markus is adapting to his new normal.
Last time I could see shadows shadows, but now I can't.
Evans says he's learning Braille now and doing well in school. He spends time listening to music. His favorites, Katy Perry, Lady Gaga, and Taylor Swift.
Take me to the moon.
And he's a fan of the arts.
I like ballet, gymnastics, cheerleading.
He's very unique. He's a very unique little kid.
What does that mean?
Unique meaning that you do some awesome stuff sometimes.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
I guess I want to be a cheerleading group.
Another wish, surgery so he can see again. Evans says doctors say they've done what they can, but she and Markus are holding on to hope. He was hurt nearly 1 year ago. For Evans, it's tough to think about. Hudgens pleaded guilty to child abuse and was sentenced 4 to 10 years in prison. Jackson is awaiting trial. Evans says she and Markus are taking it one day at a time.
He should have never had to ever experience none of this.
Vanessa Murphy, 8 News Now.
Deborah Evans says Marcus's teacher told her he is doing so well in school, he could be in a gifted program.
Guys, I got a couple things to talk about before we close this thing out, okay? First and foremost, please, if you can, take a prayer hand emoji, because maybe this little boy can even hear this story and hear us talking about him right now. Put a prayer hand emoji in the chat, because I want us to pray and hope that there can be a surgery, because we have surgeries that can fix people and give people hearing that were never able to hear. And I hope that our technology can get good enough, quick enough, that we can give this boy back his sight that he rightfully deserves. And I pray that that happens, because I know that we could get the crowdfunding done, as far as like if they say, hey, you know, we'll put a GoFundMe together or something like that. This might maybe even be a good situation where a GoFundMe account would be dope if they were able to say, hey, this is what it's going to cost in order to make this surgery happen. I believe this little boy deserves his sight. And I would hope that that would happen at some point. So young man, if you can hear us out there, if grandma can hear us out there, it would just absolutely warm our hearts. I'm glad that he's alive. I'm glad that he has what's called an indomitable spirit, an unbreakable spirit, a strong spirit, a optimistic mentality. The fact that he did not let this idiot, this criminal, and this mother ruin his spirit. And I think that is probably the best thing about this whole story. Like I said, that's why I say it's bittersweet, because it's bitter because of the bad, but it's sweet because this young man truly is a blessing, and I'm glad that he's still here. I got one more thing to call out, if y'all don't mind. Y'all might not have seen this coming. I don't know if I'm right or wrong for calling this out, but I found some stuff on Facebook. There's an individual who I blocked his name out, so y'all can't see his name, but he's to the right hand, or he'd be to the left, but on the right hand side of the boyfriend who was arrested, and this is a young picture of him. And he wrote this on October the 26th of this year. He wrote, "Missing you, bro," with a tear face, and said, "Akoya Huggins, #free#9. The reason I blocked out his face is because I don't want him attacked. I don't want them get mad at me for putting this out there. But here's my point for even bringing this up. Screw your brother. Screw your friend, your big bro. Screw him. If he gets 10 years in prison, he gets 10 years in prison. Like Ivan Drago said in Rocky IV, if he dies, he dies. If he gets 10 years, he gets 10 years. Screw him. He definitely don't need to get out any earlier. And the fact that if he's saying what I believe that he's saying, which I could be totally wrong, but I'm just basing this on the fact that you're saying, free him. Like you saying, free my partner, free this person, free that person. No, 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 no. What he did was something to a kid that kid did not deserve, and that kid has to live with the rest of his life with these injuries and potentially might not ever be able to see ever again. And for that, I think that as long as that boy can't see, that man shouldn't be able to see the light of day. Now, how about that? Huh? How about that? I think that's fair. But again, to this mother, I don't know how much time they're going to give her, which this is the mom right here. We blow this up on the screen. While she's so worried about her look and so worried about her looking good and her having a man and all of that kind of good stuff. And she actually posted this picture on Facebook. I had to blur out the bottom half of it. Posted this for the world to be able to see. Y'all see this, right? More concerned about that. More concerned about this individual. This guy. This is who she felt was worth more than her own son. Jerishon Jackson and Akoya Huggins, or whatever his damn name is, I hope that they get that full 10 years and more if the courts can do it. Eye for an eye. Thank you, Miss June Bennett. Eye for an eye. He can't see for the rest of his life. They shouldn't be able to get out of prison for the rest of their life for what they did to that boy. He couldn't speak for himself, nor could he defend himself. And the fact that this little boy, his indomitable spirit, said that I'm glad my siblings weren't around to get what I got. That to me is the key to this whole story. He is a selfless young man. He is a smart young man and a bright young man. And like I said, we can only hope that our technology at some point can bring his sight back, because I think that's the type of individual that can grow up and become something so great. And he probably is going to be great no matter what. But like I said, I think he deserves his opportunity to just be able to see again. He was robbed of it. Okay? So again, we hope to get justice. And I want to say thank you guys for listening to the story. I hope you guys listen with an open mind and an open heart. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to our channel if you haven't already done so. If you want to become a channel member, you guys can do that. You click that $sign, or you can click the bottom down there, and you should see the join the channel membership. Be a part of the AFC and represent the advocates for children, where we advocate for children first. From my heart to yours, I love you guys. Y'all have a great night, and we will see you guys on the next story. But hopefully, we can lessen the amount of stories that we have to present to you guys. Y'all enjoy your time. Peace.